this. And really, yeah, it's just going to be some information for you guys just so you feel a bit more comfortable with everything. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go through the PowerPoint that I sent you guys last Saturday. Let's see. I think that should be good. And then I have my chat and stuff open as well too. So if you guys like have a specific question or something happens, just let me know. So let's see. It's not that. I'll go like that. Okay, so information on EAC in the virtual format. This is created by the EAC board, so this isn't all my work, but a lot of people put in information here to really kind of help out. So this is a super busy slide, but we'll kind of break it down piece by piece. It starts in how to log in to Practice Fusion. So hopefully you guys know Practice Fusion is what we use to do documentation and everything. After you click login, your email and password should be able to be inputted right there. Typically it'd be your UF email, but if you had some sort of issue with it working from last fall, it might be your personal email. But if you have any problems logging in, I can look all that up manually as well. So if you have any issues, don't hesitate to reach out to me to ask. And then the big thing you're going to use here is the scheduling feature. Most of you aren't going to be creating appointments, but here it does kind of explain a little bit about creating appointments. But the big way to view the schedule is on the appointments tab here. Make sure it says physical therapy equal access clinic, and then make sure it's on that treatment date, typically the Thursday. If it's an MSK patient, it might be on that Monday or Friday that you have an MSK patient. But for EAC, it's going to be on Thursday. And if you hit the appointments tab, go to Thursday, you'll see kind of the breakdown of every patient, the clinician that is assigned to them, and then the practice and the Zoom ID. And the Zoom ID is what you get in that email from Kelsey, and that's how you figure out who your patient is. From that point, you can either look through their profile so you can see past treatments. I would definitely recommend looking that over prior to treatment. If it's a brand new patient, sometimes there'll be a chief complaint there. Other times there might not be. So it would work kind of like a typical equal access clinic in-person visit where someone comes to you and you have maybe not a whole lot of time to prepare, but most of the time you do, which is something that's really nice about the online format that we have here. So this is a bit of a new role that we've started. This only really pertains to the Equal Access Clinic board members. It is kind of that clinic manager role duty, but I figured I'd throw it in here just so everyone is kind of aware. Only one patient per week will have an assigned EAC board member assigned to them, but initially, or what basically this person does is follows the patient through the assigned week. So prior to treatment, they are reviewing patient notes, getting the rundown 15 minutes before the session. They're kind of a quality control where they're going to give a rundown of the patient and also make sure that the treating students kind of have the things on their mind as it pertains to verbal consent, emergency contact, outcome measure, different things like that. And then at the end, they kind of ensure that the treating student physical therapist confirm the time frame of treatment. And then they also are kind of responsible for follow-up and the plan of care and making sure it's communicated to free. So with every treatment, we do want to outcome measure. So we do want you to pick something, whether it's the LEFS for low extremity, quick dash for upper extremity. There's ones for back pain and things like that as well. We do want you to get that every time because we do track that and kind of see like how we're doing, and also you as the SPTs, it's important to kind of see how it's going. If it is improving, how it's not, you do want to upload that in attachments and label it accordingly so that it's easy for people in the future to find, and then also for me to find when I go to document it in our REDCap as well. It also explains here a little bit of consent, so how we want you to put it in there. we do want you to write it in the notes section. If it's a patient that's been here before, you might see the previous consent. You still have to get it for your specific treatment session as well. So add it in underneath there, make sure that the emergency contact and physical address is the same, and then you'll save the note by clicking save in the top right corner as well. So then for your actual encounter, for your note, you will want to hit this new encounter soap orange button here that's highlighted right there. It's going to pretty much autofill the patient if they've been there already with their date of birth, their previous medications, if that's been inputted by Med EAC, their main diagnosis, things like that. You just want to kind of look that over, make sure it's the same, and then it will set it up subjective, objective assessment and plan. So it kind of sets it out nice for you. And then you'll just fill it out according to the subheadings, and then that is due on 5 p.m. on Friday. So you want that to be complete. You have Thursday night to do it, or all day Friday if you're not able to do it on Thursday night. So this is something that Bree and I recently learned about from Dr. KLM, but it actually makes documentation pretty efficient. It also keeps it consistent. So I'm just going to run through a little bit about these templates. So on your settings, you'll go up to this top hand corner and click settings. Under charting, there'll be a section for charting templates. You're going to click that. And then you might have some preloaded depending on the settings, or it was a third year's project that input some of them. So I had all of these automatically, but the two that are most helpful are these EAC Eval 2020 and EAC SOAP 2020. These other ones are also helpful. They're kind of repetitive, so I have to take some of these off of mine. But like EAC Eval or SPT EAC, those can be helpful as well. And feel free to look through those and figure out what might be most helpful for you. But if you don't have these already in your template library, you'll click community up at the top. And then that's where you can look up these two. These are the two that, these are the two that are going to be the most helpful for you, the EAC SOAP 2020 and EAC Eval 2020. So if you look those up, and then you'll just click on the specific name right there. So here's the example of the EAC SOAP 2020 and the things that it'll have on there. So under subjective, it has certain things like time started treatment, time ending treatment. You don't have to use all of these, but you'll see when you create your note, when you hit templates, it'll give you kind of a rundown of all of these, and you can choose to click the ones that pertain to your specific patient and different things that you've got as well. But I found it really nice, especially down here with some of the wording of, that you're involved in under the direct supervision of the assigning PT. I just thought that was helpful to kind of add that in there, just so that you had that in your notes. It was consistent language and different things like that. Also at the top here, there's an orange button, save a copy. So then you can click that as well, and that will save it into your templates so that you can use it for future use. Okay, so then once you've kind of got your subjective, objective assessment plan, determining plan of care and next visit is pretty important here. Because we do need to know for scheduling purposes, is this going to be a patient that we'll see every week, every other week? We don't need to see for a month or something like that. So we really want you guys to talk that over between your treatment group and the patient as well, so that they're kind of aware of when they're coming back, if they need to come back, anything like that. This also does need clinician approval, so make sure that you talk to your clinician about that, because that is something that definitely you do want to run by them. If it's already been set from previous sessions, you'll find it just kind of at the bottom of the SOAP note. You'll find it at the bottom of the SOAP note under care plan. So if it's not previously recorded or you don't see it anywhere, go ahead and write it under there for your next treatment. And you'll be able to see if that's already been established and how often, you'll know when to schedule that patient out and let Bree or Kelsey know after treatment, what that's going to be. So here at the bottom of the email that you get from Kelsey or Bree, when they initially schedule you, you'll see 3 things like this. Make sure that you do it just so that it makes their job a little easier and they don't have to track you down. Just right after treatment, you'll respond to them how many times the patient needs to be scheduled, what time, if they have a preference like that, the specific clinician if desired. So if it's a specific cardiopulmonary patient or something like that, they might want to be scheduled with that specific clinician. And then also any special accommodations if you find that there is a specific language barrier, prefers no observers, technology limitations, time preference, like I said, anything like that, you can put all of that in there as well just to make scheduling a bit easier. Here is HEP to go information. This is here just so that it's written somewhere, you guys can find it. It's easiest if you save it just so you don't have to come into this PowerPoint all the time. But also please save this and put it in the Practice Fusion notes as well so that other people can find it. And then once you finish the SOAP note, you'll want to let the clinician know that it's finished. So you can go into messages and you can send a message straight to the clinician, put the patient in right here so they know it's easier for them to find the patient. And then a quick message like, oh, the SOAP note is finished, sign it at your earliest convenience. It's ready to sign. So the note again is due 5 p.m. on Friday. The clinician signature is due the following Tuesday. So try to go back into Practice Fusion by that Tuesday to see if it's been signed. If not, and if it's not, go ahead and send them a quick email through Outlook just to let them know that it's finished and that, you know, that they should be able to sign it in Practice Fusion. So just some final thoughts. Review the chart prior to treatment. It'll make your treatment a little bit easier. Review with your fellow second years to determine the roles, have the outcome measure ready, and then kind of have an idea of how you want to split treatment up, whether you want someone to lead the whole thing and one person demonstrate, whether you want to split it subjective, objective, and then assessment plan, or really any way you see fit between the two of you. Just try to make sure that everyone's engaged and learning. You also want to engage your first years, so have them assist with notes with your home exercise program. Tell them that they can message you in the chat if they have questions that aren't going to really distract you during treatment. And then definitely they can demonstrate as well. When we're back in clinic, you guys know that they can assist with vitals, so heart rate, blood pressure, and respiratory rate and other things. Sorry, I can't read the rest of this. So remember consent, address, emergency contact, outcome measure. That should be done every visit, and then also volunteer often. Hopefully you guys still have the link for that from that initial email I sent you. Or if you have questions about volunteering, you can message Tim as well. So that is it for this, just like from the PowerPoint. Is there specific questions? I know we didn't do a voiceover for this just because it was pretty wordy on the slides, so I apologize if it feels like I just kind of read through some things, but definitely, I mean, me, Bree, and I think Dr. KLM is on here as well if you guys do have specific questions, but also this is recorded so that you guys can look at it at a later point, go back through it, watch it on a super fast speed, and figure out all of that.
When we have the EAC board member, if we have one of them in our treatment sessions, are we responsible for following up and scheduling the patient, or are they gonna like contact Bree or Kelsey?
I think definitely you guys could coordinate between the two of you and figure it out. The main role, we were gonna have the clinic manager role be responsible for like reaching out to the patient and calling them and figuring out all of that, but then it kind of got a little bit confusing of, wait, how are we gonna make sure that someone does it, you know, and coordinating that. So I would still send like that message to Kelsey with the 3 things here, because the worst thing that happens is she gets it twice. But yeah, definitely talk to the board member, because they'll kind of be there before and then after. They'll be there throughout the treatment as well. So you can just ask them, what's easier, or if you don't talk about it, just go ahead and send it as well.
Cool, thank you.
Well, great. I mean, if you guys have questions later, you can always ask us. Does everyone seem to understand kind of the volunteering aspect, the fact that you can volunteer to just observe or volunteer to treat, and how we've kind of set that apart on that volunteer sheet? Other than that, I mean, I know Practice Fusion can seem a little daunting, but really once you log into it, it's not too terrible. It's pretty user friendly. There are some things that can kind of get caught up, but with the things you guys have to do with it, it's not too terrible. And then if you ever are like on Thursday night and you're not really sure, you can always group message or group me message Bree or I, or text us or something. We're happy to help. But I hope just kind of going through everything kind of helps people feel a little bit less intimidated by it. But yeah, I would just recommend spending some time and getting a little used to it before it's, you have to write a note and you have to turn it in, you have to do something else.
So just to tie some things together for the note aspect of this, one of the ongoing continual problems we have with our process is the lack of signing by the clinician, or the lack of response by the student to request to change the note by the clinician, which probably more falls into the former group than the latter group. So the message that you send within Practice Fusion, what I would recommend is if you want to improve your note-taking skills, or you have peers outside of the group that they're having issues with that, you can write something in there that says, hey, I was having some issues with this aspect of the subjective. Do you have recommendations? Or any of the other parts. So you can use this as a learning experience to get feedback from these clinicians who, I mean, as much as I'd love to say that I know what I do, I don't have to deal with a full caseload of paperwork. So they know a lot of the tricks of the trade in order to get paid. They know a lot of the tricks in the trade in order to make sure there's a consistent story, so that or your PTA or your team member knows what to do for the next patient. And it's kind of better to have some insight into that prior to your first full-time clinical experiences. So do you make sure that you're using that mechanism as more than just a, hey, note's done, sign it please. If you know that there's aspects that you'd like to have them focus in on. As I mentioned, they are busy. They've got a full caseload that they're doing paperwork on. So it helps them out to know that you have something specific you want them to look at. Otherwise, they're going to probably breeze through it, maybe make a few changes, and then just sign it. Nobody ever knows. So I would challenge you guys to do that. From a signing standpoint, we have been really borderline terrible on the clinician and faculty side with signing things. And a lot of it is also because Monday comes and most of us are rolling into the next things that we need to do for classes. So it's kind of moved down. The way we used to handle this was the students would have to complete their note that night, and they would have it signed that night when we still had paper variants of this. In order to make sure people were not finishing clinic at 10 o'clock at night, we ended up with the electronic record creating this staggered process. Friday to get it done, Monday to get the clinician to sign. I'm not going to change that for this year with COVID. There's enough issues, but if we do see this persistent problem with getting the note signed, there is a chance when things kind of level off that whatever iteration of leadership we have at EAC that we'll have to switch back unless you guys can show, hey, this is possible. We can get this done with this staggered process. So know that your efforts are going to affect not just you, but also future classes.
Yeah, another thing I was going to add with that, I do have a test patient up on Practice Fusion. And I did want to, oops, sorry. Let me make sure that I'm not sharing someone else's info. So I'm going to stop sharing and get the test patient up real quick. Oh, that was the test. I just was on a different screen. So I'm going to share this again. And okay, so it's sharing again. This is a test account, so it's no one's actual information. I was just looking at this and I thought those were patients. But when you are in the SOAP note, you do want to change the seen by option to the practitioner that you're working with, just so that it comes up on there to do tasks. You can see right now it's under myself, so it's under my tasks right here of a note I should sign, but I can't sign it because I don't have a license in Practice Fusion. So you're going to want to change this to Dr. KLM if he is your clinician. So now that's going to pop up on his to-do tasks for him to sign it, just so it's a little bit easier for him to see it. So that's going to automatically start out on whoever generated that SOAP note. So by changing it, it now kind of puts it on their end for him to be able to sign it, if that makes sense. A little bit down here, you can see like the subjective, objective assessment plan. When I would hit record, you can see all the templates show up here. So if I want to use this Equal Access Clinic Eval 2020, I'll hit that, and then here are all the things I can just simply add from right here. So I could add history of current complaint, motive of injury, description, location, add in his activity tolerance, aggravating factors, relieving factors, all of this, and you can, delete what you don't want. Say I didn't have his occupation or something for whatever reason. There's also options for diagnostics if he's done with that. If not, you can just take that out of there. But there's all these kind of subheadings for you just to add in. So it helps, keep things in a consistent manner, like I said. And also it kind of reminds you of what to put in as well, because you might have forgotten about previous treatment or patient goals or something like that. So that's there to help you as well. And then again, you can just change it. The EAC SOAP is going to have a little bit different time started treatment, symptom status, HEP adherence, different things like that. So I would make sure just to kind of look at this before and kind of get used to it a little bit. Again, to add it in, you go into your templates, community, and then look it up from there, and it should be able to be found. So here's another thing, like, just a little thing to sign just to make sure it's in the note, it's good to go, and that you're all legal and everything.
Katie, at the very top of the note, if you could go back, make sure that you guys are changing that to the PT visit type. Oh, did they remove it?
I'm not sure. I've seen it as different things. I've seen it sometimes as office minute visits.
Do this real quick. Can you change facility to physical therapy just to make sure?
Those are the same, but
yeah, we'll have to figure that out because they wanted to. Med EAC wanted us to utilize that for records keeping, so we got to figure out why that's not showing up.
okay.
It might be because this is an old record, so.
Yeah, this test account has used, I think, there's some from us, some from that. From
so,
places.
but if you're in that, you guys do want to change the encounter type to whatever looks like physical therapy. I want to say it says PT, but don't hold me to it. That way we can help delineate. we can help delineate for Med EAC what type of visit it is. Good.
Good. Yeah. Does anyone have any other questions that you want to ask? If not, Bree and I will stay on after if you have something specific. But really, all of the SOAP notes looked great from last week. Every week I have to go through and I pull out the outcome measures and put them into the database. And they all looked great. There's just really 2 that aren't signed yet. One of them was my own, so I reached out to my clinician. And then the other one was someone else, and they're going to reach out today as well. So it went super well. Overall, I think a lot of people were a little more scared than, they were pleasantly surprised by how tough it was to treat. But yeah.
Yeah, the clinicians were quite happy with the interactions. So kudos to everybody who were seeing patients that night. You did a good job.
Cool. I'm going to stop recording. So thank you.